Hi guys, welcome to another online Pieandbelle Art class. This week we're looking at this pigeon. We did this in our actual classes in Leighton Buzzard and Dunstable this week. So if you'd like to get in contact with me to find out about those, just go to my bio where my telephone number and email address are. So we did this ink and gouache pigeon with these highlighter accents, which is a real fun way to play around with this product. So we're going to get started now. The first thing we're going to do is get our picture of our pigeon, and we're going to use two circles, one for the head and one for the breast of the pigeon, and then we're going to look at everything that comes off of that, how its neck connects, how its tail comes out, and also when you get to the beak, where the beak is joined, the line in between. If you follow that up, you'll get to where the eye is, because the eye kind of joins onto that line. So then we're going to just get an idea of the placement of his legs, and we're going to get started and take out those kind of guidelines that we've got in the middle there. So we're going to erase those out, so we've got just a basic shape of him, and then we're going to come in with our highlighter. So highlighters are the same as felt tip, are something you can use with watercolour or gouache or ink, because they are a water soluble ink. They will work with it as well, so it's just a fun thing to try out and see something new, and also it's lovely to have these vibrant highlighter kind of neons in there. So when your gouache comes out, it will be kind of like a gel form, and you want to water it down till it's like at a kind of Tipex-y, kind of liquidy measure. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm just going to water it down so that it's workable. And the first thing I'm going to do is just outline my pigeon with a dip pen and some ink, just a little bit of an outline. And then I'm going to fill him in entirely with water. So I'm just getting the dip pen ready, and I'm going to use just a small amount around where he's the most darkest. So around his chest I think I did it, and some of his tail. I'm going to leave his head mainly because his head is really pale grey, so I don't want too much there, but this is just to get us started. And then what I'm going to do is fill him up entirely with water, and you can see how I'm already pushing some of that colour from those pens around. You'll get a little bit of the kind of greeny tinge from the green, and a little bit of the blue from that purpley colour I've put in there, and some of the black from the ink. Then what I'm going to do is wherever he is his lightest, which is where his wing is and his head, I'm going to bring in some pure white of that gouache, and then I'm going to start mixing up my greys to go around with him. And pulling that colour out in that first instant just actually does help you get that kind of undercolour going on, so that kind of little blue tinge underneath him does really help with your picture. And now you can see I'm going to start mixing up a light grey at first, which I'm going to put on his head and round his chest, and then I'm going to start bringing in some darker grey, and all I'm going to do is where that little bit of white at the top is and the black underneath on my mixing tray, I'm just going to keep adding a little bit more black and making it darker and darker, you can see there, and adding it where I want. And the good thing about putting all the water in first is you get that lovely kind of splay effect that you can see on his wing there, and obviously the more it dries the less you're going to get of this, so you're going to have lots of different kind of layers of it. And I'm pushing some of that grey over the top of it, of the green and the purple and the pink, because really on his chest it's just kind of like an iridescent highlight rather than actual just bright colours on his chest. He obviously has a little bit of kind of iridescence there rather than a full-on kind of collar of green. Now when you're coming to do the ink, don't be scared to kind of put quite bold amounts on there, because the fact of the matter is if you don't like a particular part where it's gone really dark, because you're working with gouache and gouache is opaque, you can just go over that with some grey, which you'll see me do in a little while. So I'm going to give him some kind of patterns, and this is a very illustrative image, so really don't worry about getting it really perfect anyway. That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to look kind of fun. And I think I realise here I put his feet in way too high here. His feet basically come out of his knees in this bit. So I'm going to move his feet in a minute. I'm going to raise them and put them in a little bit lower. But you can see there I've definitely done his kind of head up there too dark. I'll bring some lighter greys over the top of his head in a little while to lighten that up, because that's way too dark for his head on the image. So I'm just trying to follow him as best I can. Now I'm leaving his eye and the top part of his beak until a little bit later. I'm just really deciding how far I want to take it with the kind of illustrative feel of it. And you may find that you feel like it's too much, all the black's too much, and you want to kind of counterbalance it with some grey, and that's absolutely fine as well. I really liked using these highlighters. I thought they were a bit of fun. and I love neon colours anyway, so it worked really well for me. But now I'm just going to bring a little kind of outline, and you can see I'm not really overly worried about it being a real detailed, realistic image. It's much more of an illustrative, fun one. And you always need a kind of guide image to help you out on these, but you don't really have to follow it perfectly. If your pigeon ends up a little bit plumper or a little bit skinnier, it really doesn't matter because you're just having a bit of fun with it. Even if you wanted to, you could make him really kind of cartoonish with big kind of cartoony eyes, and that's absolutely fine as well. I just kind of followed how he was going in this one. So I think in a minute I do come in with some grey and kind of counterbalance, because he was getting very dark at this point. He's got a lot of black going on, so I think I did kind of bring in some grey and counterbalance out some of that darkness, just to bring him back to a more grey colour. So you can see there on his head, definitely I felt that was a bit too dark, and that top bit of his wing. And basically you stop when you want to stop, when you feel happy with it and you think you're done. So I think I'm pretty much done with him. I kind of added little bits of dots here and there, but I really liked how he was looking at this point. So I think he's basically finished. I really thought this was a fun one this week, and I hope that everyone that came to the class enjoyed it, and I hope that anyone that's coming back in January is keeping up to date with a few of these classes and trying to get a bit in, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thanks everyone, bye!